Hey everyone, welcome to the second episode of the 12-minute AI Game Development Challenge. In this series, I try to build a game pretty much from scratch in under 12 minutes using the power of AI-assisted coding tools. In last episode, I built the game Snake, and we were able to get a full game running, including a menu system, a scoring system, but more importantly, we were able to integrate it with a backend system, allowing players to authenticate anonymously, as well as submit their high scores into a database. This enabled us to have a global leaderboard where we could see all players and their scores. We did all this under 12 minutes, but in this week's challenge, we're going to up the complexity quite a bit. We'll be building the game of Pac-Man. Now, Pac-Man is going to be more complicated for several reasons. Number one, there are a lot more rules related to Pac-Man. You're not just eating food, but you're also being chased by ghosts. Number two, rather than just having a square grid, we're going to actually have a map that resembles what the original Pac-Man game looked like. And the third thing that we're going to be doing is that we're going to be adding some level of polish to the game, especially with how the movement controls are. Now, in the last video, you might recall I said you spend more time describing the what rather than the how. That's what the game design document was. In this week's video, we will be introducing a technical design document. I found that when you're building a game like Pac-Man, you need to provide the AI with some pointers into how you would expect a good fluid movement to be. So can we do all this in under 12 minutes? Let's find out. All right, so we're ready to get started. I'm going to open up the game design and the technical design files, open a composer window, remember to select agent. So you should say ask agent to do anything. I'm going to move it to the side with more space here because we're going to really spend more time initially on the design files. So we're ready to go, 12 minutes, then the clock starts now. All right, here we go. So for the game design, I'm not going to spend a lot of time because it's actually going to be a clone of the game of Pac-Man. So let's not spend too much time there. I'm not going to do the back end. And the technical design is actually where most of the complicated bits are going to be. But while that happens, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually prompt the cursor to start going because it's going to take a while. And the difference this time is I'm going to add in a line about adhering to the implementation in technical design, and I'm going to say wait for my first instruction. And the reason for that is because if you don't ask it to wait, it will sometimes go off and even though you tell it to do things iteratively, it will actually it will actually try to do something too complicated for the beginning. It's very hard to debug. And so while that's churning away, I'm going to talk a little bit about the technical design document. So the main sections are the model, sprites or visuals, and the controls. And these are the three broad sections that you want to kind of talk about when you're doing your when you're kind of like doing your design. And I'm going to kickstart it here because sometimes cursor gets stuck. And in terms of the model, I want to represent things as a grid, but I want to separate the grid representation with how it's drawn on screen. And this is always a good practice to have, right? You don't want to tie your logic to how things are drawn on screen because it means that, well, first of all, it's very hard to debug. And it also means that you have this tight coupling and it's very hard to make changes later. You want to be able to have the logic be able to run irrespective of how it's drawn. Cool. So it's really mean this one, and while it's going, it hasn't replaced the file yet. That's fine. In terms of sprites, I have certain things that I like to do. So I want to do everything in code, so no external assets. I like to center origin them. And the controls is the bit where it's going to get a little bit more complicated because this really is about the look and feel. But while that's happening, let's see what's going on here. It's checking, but it's taking a long time, which is not good. It's just eaten 2 minutes of my time, and you haven't gone. Come on, what's going on? Let's go. Let's go. Go, go, go. Go Gog. Yeah, well, let's see. Could be. So he's going to do the basic level first. Let's create them like that. I don't know why it needs to be kick-started in that way sometimes. But yeah, okay. So one of the things you can see is that it's adhering to the technical design document, which actually asks me to, if you actually look at it, should be defined. Yeah, should be defined programmatically, and it should be separate sprites. So it at least is following that. So, and the reason for that is so that you can see here, it's just a nice organizational structure. What I found is that this does slow things down a little bit because if it was doing everything all in one file, it would actually be a lot faster. But anyway, it makes things a little bit more organized better. So we'll live with that. So it's done the pellets, and I'm going to make this screen bigger because we spend more time in this more than anything. So it's going to update the main screen, and hopefully we get things drawn on screen pretty soon because we've already taken 3 minutes. After this, what we're going to do is that we're going to add the movement, and that usually is the tricky bit. And sometimes when cursor says it's doing stuff. Okay, great, cool. All right, so I'm happy with that. I'm actually going to preempt that it's fine. And what I'm going to do is explain a little bit about this data separation. So you can see over here, the level is represented with ones and zeros, and then it translates that to drawing it on the right hand side, which is different, which is a visual representation. And this separation is actually really important to have, especially when you're building games like this, where you're moving around a grid, because as you will see later, it actually helps keep the game logic easier first of all, but it also makes the game controls a lot more responsive. But let's see, it's doing the controls now, so we'll see whether it gets it right. And like I said, I sometimes find that when cursor goes into this thinking mode, it's actually useful to open the file that it says it's thinking on in order to make sure that it's actually doing what it says it does. Oh yeah, okay, great. So you can see the grid movement is working correctly, and I did explicitly ask for it to go discretely, right? Move from cell to cell discretely. Now, the reason for doing so is that rather than making it move smoothly at one shot, that's where you actually have a lot of problems. But if you can get the grid movement moving like this, discretely, you can always do the smoothing later, and it makes it much easier to debug because you get the main gameplay working correctly. So that's great. So that's working. So the collision seems to be working fine. Let's add I think it's a good time to actually add the pellets and the scoring system. So eating the food and having a good scoring system. Sorry, yeah, falling. All right, and I will show you later that getting the controls to feel right, usually takes quite a lot of time. So what you want to do is get the base mechanics running, right? Like smoothing, turning, collisions that that align correctly. You can do that later. We've got the ghost. That's great. And what we want to do later is to actually have the ghost start chasing us. But maybe we need a bigger map. But let's get the mechanics of eating and the win conditions first, because if it all works on the first one, we're all good. We can always make a bigger map later. And again, just explaining why why it's actually useful to have a separation of how the game looks like versus kind of like drawing it straight away. This all become a lot clearer. But yeah, effectively you can just change this and you get a different map. Cool. Okay, so it's doing here. So yeah, I don't know why it didn't move this into constants, because I prefer this to be actually in the models folder. Sometimes it gets it wrong, but we can always fix that later. No problem. Okay, so it's doing the pellets now, and it's thinking, and I don't know what it's generating. Okay, so main scene. Come on, main scene. You gotta do your thing, right? So I'm going to cancel generation, continue. And sometimes you just got to kickstart cursor like that. I noticed this is, I guess, when there's a lot of heavy traffic. But you want to fix the linter error. Great. Okay, so I would like to get stuff on screen, and hopefully the pellets and the win condition gets up, and we are in the okay, good. All right, so that works. All right, so the pellets are not being collected from what I can see. Pellets not being collected. And this is probably a collision error. Sometimes it's because of calculation. Yeah, so because we've offset the map to the center, sometimes it forgets to do that calculation appropriately, which is fine. But let's see what it does. Cool. Okay. Oftentimes it's because of that. Okay, so we've got 5 minutes left. Not a lot of time, but we'll see where we can get to. Once we can get this basic scoring going, then it's about making the map bigger, and then getting the ghosts to chase you, getting the power-ups, and adding layers of polish. Not too sure about whether we'll be able to get all of this done within the remaining 5 minutes, especially when it's taking its own sweet time. But we will do our best. We will do our best to see what we can get to. Come on, main scene. You can do it, main scene. Okay, let's go. Okay, cool. Scoring's working. All right, let's not waste no time. Let's switch to a bigger map. Let's switch to a bigger map now. We don't have time, cursor. We don't have time. So I just said switch to a bigger map representative of the original game. And like I said, right, this is the good thing about having a separation. You don't have to, redraw the entire map, directly. You just have to update the map data structure that you see over here, and it should just update it on the right. So click here. I've had to do this quite a lot these few days. So basically make sure that if it says it's generating stuff for this file, open the file and kind of keep an eye on cursor and make sure that it's not just spinning. Okay, cool. 4 minutes left, or just under 4 minutes left. Come on, we got to get going. Things are definitely a bit, you know, slower. But okay, great. So it's got that map representation there. Cool, good. Okay. Oh, there we go. Really decent. There we go. Nice. All right. So we've got that, and that's good. So I'm going to say I want the ghost to chase Pac-Man, and at least the scoring works. I didn't check the wind conditions. I should have done that with the smaller map, but I trust Cursor, so I'm pretty sure that the wind conditions are there. We have to kind of change the borders at the end, but that's an easy fix. So let's have the ghost start to chase us, and that will be probably a good good state to be in. I'm not sure whether I'll get to all the polish that I would like to, but I would like to at least get you know, like some better graphics, right? And the power palettes. Yeah, the power palettes are probably the ones that we really want to have from a functionality standpoint. Okay, so we will do the power palettes next, and then we'll do the better graphics. Yeah. Cool. Once the monster starts chasing me. In fact, I'm gonna preempt that by assuming it's gonna get the chase logic correct. And then, yeah, so the movement is still like very, very discrete, but that's fine because actually adjusting the movement, well, first of all, it takes longer, and secondly, you know, it's better to get the main bulk mechanics going before you start you know, like making the look and feel good look good, right? So main scene again. See, I told you, you always have to open this. At least maybe psychological. You have to open it so that it just gets moving. Okay, cool. At least the map generation was pretty good. We've got 2 minutes left. Let's see. We might be able to get to the power palettes, and I don't know whether we'll get to like the nice graphics, but it's definitely taking its time today. Come on. You know, I'm just gonna be risky and say go. Cool. Come on, let's get the power palettes. Oh wait, no, I accidentally sent the next instruction. No, I don't. I wanted let's get this point, restore, and get the ghost to chase Pac-Man. Okay. Cool. Yeah, not great when there's not great when there's heavy traffic, I think, because especially when you're doing a challenge like this, where every split second matters. But we'll see how far we get, and if not, we'll just spill a little bit over time and spend a bit of time cleaning things up. Okay, let's look at what it's doing with ghosts. So it's going to update this class. Yeah, right. Come on. It's not gonna. Okay, cool. All right, so it's going to add some logic to do some chasing. Yep, and yeah, it's getting some. Yep. So I should have told it to use the docs. I said like refer to docs for the graphics and game object API. No difference with canvas API. Yeah, so that's something that to note. We got 30 seconds left. Probably won't get to everything that we said we wanted to, but we will do our best. Come on, come on. Why is everything so slow today? Come on, main scene. Come on, main scene. It's not that big a file. You can do this. All right, 15 seconds left. And maybe we should give ourselves like another 5 minutes and see where we get to. Probably worthwhile. All right, so time's up. Oh well. At least we got to a state where it demonstrated a pretty good base point for us to build a game, and that's the whole point of the challenge, right? We knew that this was going to be a bit of a stretch, but at the very least, I wanted to demonstrate where we could get to, and maybe with a bit of better prompting or maybe something else that we would have been able to get to a good state. But this is, I think, is a good point to save our changes so that I can actually continue making changes on top of this, and we wouldn't have to, I would say, end 12-minute challenge. And maybe we can give ourselves a little bit of extra time to polish the rest of things up.
A few moments later.
All right, so even though we reached the end of the challenge, we got a pretty good state. We've got Pac-Man moving around, we've got the chasing happening, and so maybe what we can do is extend the time by a little bit and see if we can get to completing the last few features. And the last few features will really focus around the power palettes so that Pac-Man is able to fight against the ghosts, adding better movement controls, and then animations. So let's see if we can get all this done. And I'm gonna do another 8 minutes, so it's a nice 20 minutes, and see if we can get to that stage. So ready? 3, 2, 1, Let's go. All right, so the next thing I want to do is that add power pellets to eat ghosts. Make sure that the ghosts are vulnerable when light with vulnerable. That the ghosts when vulnerable are light blue in color, different from walls. Cooldown flashing and avoids Pac-Man as per game design. Make sure collision with ghosts work to eat them. Alright, and this is quite important. Like I said, sometimes even though the game design document already talks about about all these stuff, about eating and all this stuff, it's sometimes required to like point it back at it, and sometimes you even have to go to like specific lines just to re-emphasize the point. But let's see. Let's see how is it going. Yeah. Okay. So it's yep. So let's see how it's going. So it's gonna implement the power palette, so we're gonna see them around, and hopefully we'll be able to, get that functionality going. We want to get some smooth movement going, and then better graphics. And I think that's pretty good, end state if we can indeed reach that. The controls one tends to be the tougher one, getting the smooth movement in. But let's see. In fact, I'm gonna preempt it by saying, let's see. What do we say? I'm gonna say that. Add smooth, okay, so I say adjust, make movement not discrete, but smooth movement between cells. Adhere to the technical design for, okay, firstly I'm going to say adhere to game design, and I'm going to specifically point out where, right, about the controls. So the game design for how key press works, where Pac-Man moves in the direction constantly without needing to be held down, and the other ones adhere. Oh, so this is actually for the game design, and I really should zoom in. And for adhere to game design for grid cell align movement, even when continuous. And then I'm going to actually also point out the specific bits about horizontal movement. So I'm going to say horizontal, yeah, okay, so this one, right? Cool, and I'm going to add that into cursor, and then also make sure collisions are simple but work. All right, let's see if this actually works. And in the meantime, let's test out the power pellets. Okay, I've eaten the power pellet, it becomes blue, I chase the ghost, and eating it doesn't work. I knew it, see? But it's okay, that's going to be pretty easy to fix. Right, at least it's running away, at least the power pellet eating works, and Pac-Man is moving around. So let's fix the controls, and then we can fix the overlap and eating shortly after. The movement is usually the one that is hard to get right, and we'll see very, very shortly whether this works, whether like this high-level prompting actually works for making it better. Okay, cool. Let's see. Okay, so good. Oh, it's actually pretty good. The movement is actually pretty good. Yeah, so you can see, right? It's grid aligned. The turning works. I'm actually pretty pleased with that. Sometimes it takes quite a lot to get this to work. Okay, I shouldn't be too happy. I need to get moving. So I say when overlapping with vulnerable ghosts, Pac-Man doesn't eat. Okay, cool, but that's fine. Okay, so we should also make the movement for the ghost smooth, but I'm actually pretty happy with this. So because with this movement like that, which is grid aligned, turning works pretty well, and this is what I mean. It's like when by the way, the difference here is like I'm actually not holding down the key as well, so it's like it's just moving, and it's just moving after pressing down the key, pressing the key once. That's kind of how I want it, and then you can see like I've actually changed direction and it buffers, and I'll talk a little bit about what this means later. Oh, okay, so let's see, he's supposed to be vulnerable now. Let's go. Let's see, let's go. The speed's a bit slow. It's a bit slow, but let's see. As long as I'm faster than the ghost. Well, he's trapped, so he's gonna... Okay, good. So he's eaten. cool. Well, he should be respawning, but that's an easy thing to fix. I'm not too worried about that. So ghost movement should be smooth too. Let's do that. And then what were we saying? Like, I think Pac-Man should be a bit faster. Okay, this is where I'm probably just gonna make the speed. I'm gonna make the change. Okay, I'm just wondering when I can find the speed. Speed. So there's a speed. Where is that speed? Pac-Man speed. Pixels per frame. Let's do like 10. Would that work? Oh, it's too fast now. Right. Okay, so this is where a little bit of tweaking. Okay, let's do that. Okay, that's much better. That's much faster. Okay. We probably should tweak that balance such that like the ghost is not too unfair to the ghost. What's going on here? It's spending a lot of time thinking on this. Let's make sure that. Okay, let's make the ghosts also have smooth movement, and then we want it to respawn. Otherwise, it's not too challenging anymore. But yeah, the movement's actually pretty good, like that. It's a bit fast, but it's actually pretty good. Yeah, I'm not gonna do what? 3 pixels per frame. That's fine. Okay. Come on, you want to be smooth too? Right, like I told you, gotta close the window, open the window, and then like scroll through it, so that cursor thinks you're watching it, and then it tends to move, tends to get going. All right, let's see. Come on. All right, there's definitely a compilation error or something here. Blah blah blah. Okay. Okay, so it's probably going to some ghosts. Right, let it fix up it in main scene, and then we'll get this one done. And then we want to get some animation. Okay, good. So okay, good. Then yeah, okay, that's pretty good. But it's broken the collision for Pac-Man, which is not that good. Okay. Come on. Okay, so I don't know why it broke the collision for Pac-Man. After getting smooth movement for. Okay, so Pac-Man movement is broken. No collisions registered. Fix it. Alright, we got 45 seconds. I'm pretty happy, at least we got the smooth movement kind of going. We can get this fixed. We got the pellets back in, and then and what I would love to be able to get to is actually animating it, getting some animations in. But it's definitely taking its time today. Can't find the file. Come on, what's going on? Okay, right, 13 seconds, 10 seconds left. Just gonna accept it. I never know. Sometimes it just works. No. Let's go with this. Let's just do that. Come on, let's at least fix that, right? So something definitely got broken by cursor, and we're out of time. So that's 20 minutes in total. We managed to get to this point, which is not too bad. We've got pretty good movement. Well, I mean, it's pretty bad now that the movement's been broken. But hopefully, with this last bit here, we'll be able to get that movement done in. And maybe we'll just take a little bit of extra time now to just finish up the animations. And I think it's a pretty good end state to be in. Like I said, 12 minutes, like this 12-minute challenge is really, like the whole point was to kind of like make it, have a bit of constraint, keep the videos like somewhat tight, says the person who added 8 minutes to it, but also for good practice. Just talking about how to get this turning to feel right, especially in an arcade game like this, because you see, if I press up, I change the direction quite early, and it still does the turn, and that's actually how the game should feel. And it's without adding a lot of these things into the technical design document, you will realize that the movement, at least based on my experience, it never gets it right the first time or even after some time. You really have to give it quite a bit of context around how you want the look and feel to be. And the best way to do this is actually to show you the debug menu. But maybe let's try doing that first.
2 hours later.
So, alright, so what I wanted to explain here is that you can see this at grid center true direction and next direction. Like, these things are super important for it to make sure that it's at the center before it starts turning. Alright, so first of all, like you can see, it only turns when it's at the center. Okay, so that's the first point. The second point is that the next direction is useful so that when you are, for example, I'm going to come down, I'm going to press right now, it knows to turn right, even if my finger is not there. And this adds to the whole responsiveness of the gameplay. And like I said, if you try to do just a basic control scheme using AI assisted tools, it's very unlikely it's going to get you that feel. Cool. All right, so we've got that done. We've got the debug menu done. And what I want to do next? What do I want to do? I said I want to do some animation. Okay, so graphics with phaser, especially with AI coding tools, very important. So I'm going to say, make Pac-Man have a mouth and a simple ghost shape. And this is where it's really important. Reference the docs of Phase Graphics API, not Canvas API. So this is really important because they are very similar, but if you don't put this in, it actually gets things completely wrong. From my experience, it will start drawing arcs and like the shape of Pac-Man. You try to draw arcs, it tries to do a bunch of other things, and it just doesn't look right. And it turns out it's because it's thinking, because the APIs are so similar, it thinks it's drawing it counterclockwise, clockwise, but it turns out it's just completely wrong. And so that's why having the phaser documentation, which you can index in Cursor, is super important, because then it gets it right, hopefully gets it right the first time, which we'll find out soon. Okay, there you go. That's actually pretty good. It's actually got this right the first time, at least when it spawned, it really should be yellow, but that's an easy fix. I'll accept that in exchange for this fairly good animation. Let's see what it does with the ghosts. I've done this a few times, and it draws the ghosts like sometimes really, really strangely. But let's see how it goes. Okay, so there we go. Oh, got eaten. Okay, right. Okay, so yeah, check this out. Yeah, this ghost looks really, really odd. Yeah, and it looks really odd. But it's okay. You know what? I'll accept it. I think it's just trying to be a bit too clever. Okay, so I'll accept that. As in both, philosophically as well as physically clicking the accept button. And I think we're actually in pretty good shape. And there you have it. Well, we didn't manage to get all of it done in under 12 minutes. We didn't even manage to get all of it done in 20 minutes. But I hope that this video was useful for several reasons. Number one, the introduction of the technical design document, providing a bit more context around how you would like the game to feel like, was quite useful, even though we still hit some snags along the way. Number two, hopefully it also served as a good learning point of how to debug and try to get through, especially when the AI gets things wrong. I hope I'll be able to do a lot better for the next challenge, but hopefully you found this useful and informative. If you have any ideas of what game to do next, please leave a comment, and don't forget to like and subscribe.